Hey guys, it's Wednesday. Welcome to video 1. I know that Tuesday's videos were a bit rushed. We had so much to introduce, but today we're going to slow it down and really get into the rhetorical elements that we breezed past on Tuesday. So don't forget about your third writing response. I'll show you where to submit it in case you're still trying to figure out eCampus. So go to coursework and then exploratory writing. And writing response 2. So again, you'll just click on it, and then I have the due date there. 1 point means I've received it, not 100%. Browse my computer, and then just submit whatever file that you choose. Okay? So again, it's the one with the ad and the ad explanation. The ad should not take you long to create. I demonstrated in Tuesday's video how to create that, and then just give me a brief synopsis of why you created the ad. So you would be choosing, I would say, 2 elements of the 9 rhetorical elements and just describe them. What were the more important elements to this ad? So let's go ahead and just refresh our memories. What are those 9 rhetorical elements? This is the assignment sheet, which you can access in coursework and papers, like all of the documents for each unit. All the readings, everything will be under the rhetorical analysis unit, okay? If it ever loads. Okay, well, I already have it pulled up here, so we're just going to look at this one. So if you go all the way down to the bottom, I have all of the rhetorical elements in one place, and I also have a definition next to each one. So the definition might not be good enough, so we're going to go through each one and apply them to World War Z posters today. So ethos, the credibility, pathos, emotional appeal, logo, structure or like placement of things, purpose, why the creator created the visual text. It's obvious that they want you to come see the movie because we're doing all movie posters, but what's further? Are there any contextual elements that are included in the movie poster that are apparent? Audience, this is the target audience who originally viewed the movie poster, so you need to look at year and where the movie posters were published or where you would see them. Conventions, we'll talk about that because that's kind of hard to wrap your mind around. And then textual is easy, just what text is in the ad. Context is what was going on at the time in terms of all of these things. There are more, but these are the ones that are kind of the most important. And then visual, these 4 things. I have, again, created a PowerPoint that goes through these 4 main things, and I want you to use this language in your paper to demonstrate that you understand this language, okay? So again, for each movie poster, you must write about visual elements. Say proximity is the most important, then write about proximity maybe for a whole paragraph, or alignment, or proximity and alignment. You do not need to write about all 4, but you must write about 1 visual element minimum. You also must write about something contextual. So let's go to context. One of these things. You can write about more than 1, but a lot of them deal with class and wealth, money, etc., because we're in the dystopian or kind of apocalyptic or futuristic genre, were for a lot of the movie posters I pulled from. Okay, so context and visual you must have in your paper. The rest is up to you. You can choose 3 to 5 of these other ones, okay? And we'll talk about organization a little bit more tomorrow, but start with context and visual. Okay, so now we have a little bit more knowledge of the rhetorical elements. So let's go ahead and look at the steps. So the first thing that you should do, and you should already have done, is choose which movie poster you want to do. Again, if you don't like any of them, then by tomorrow, by Thursday, you need to have that written submission sent to me. You need to choose a different one and answer these 4 questions in a typed format like you would for a writing response, and you need to send that to me via email. If you're fine with one of the 7 that I provided for you, then just choose one. You don't need to tell me which one. I have already asked you about it in your writing response, okay? So for this for the steps for this, you choose that, and then you start analyzing it. You start picking it apart. So I have actually chosen like a World War Z one just because it's one of my favorite movies. And here's a little bit of a PowerPoint showing you how to analyze step by step with the 9 rhetorical elements. Okay, so here's the movie poster. Here's just one of them. We're going to look at 3 of 4. So they have a lot of details here, but let's just look at it in terms of ethos, pathos, logos for this movie poster, and then we'll do the rest of the rhetorical elements for the other options. So ethos, author's credibility. Who is the author here? We're not entirely sure. So we know that World War Z is the movie. Normally at the bottom here, you have like the company that produced it. So Paramount, it looks like. In the movie posters I provided for all of you, you can in fact enlarge them so you are able to read all of the details. So that would be your ethos. Another part of ethos is the actors' names. So up here we have Brad Pitt. It's centered, singular, it stands out from the rest, it's not cluttered, it's easy to see. So Brad Pitt is an A-lister, as I say over here. So look for that in terms of, are there names on there? What do they contribute to selling the movie, to encouraging audiences to visit it? Okay, so in terms of ethos, that's it. Also, is it part of a chain? Was it a book series? Would that contribute in any way to the ethos? So is it part of a genre, a larger genre, like a dystopian genre or apocalyptic? A lot of the end of the world type movies are really trendy these past couple of years. So how might the genre influence the audience? Okay, so ethos. Pathos. The deconstructing ad that I had you read yesterday is really good at triggering or helping you understand pathos. So it asks you questions like, use 5 adjectives to describe the movie poster. So in this, I would say something like foreboding, dark, intense, lethal almost, and stark. The contrast between the light and the dark is one of the first things, and the large Z in the middle to indicate zombies, So what do those tell you about this, though? What can you predict from this movie? It's probably not a Disney movie, right? You're not going to be really cheering or crying happy tears that you would maybe in like Finding Dory or something like that. So yeah, you can, it's capturing the sense or the emotion of that it's supposed to evoke from the audience. So it's doing that effectively, or it's doing that well. Logos. Let's move on to that one. So logos is placement and structure. So does it make sense basically as a movie poster? So some things to include in movie posters. We obviously need the title. What are we seeing? June 2013 is when this came out. We have a little bit of information at the very bottom about the production company, not very well featured, but we also don't need that to be highlighted. And then we have, again, some of the ethos up here, and it's placed in a way that is has vertical alignment. It leads from Brad Pitt's name all the way down this spire of zombie bodies all the way to the Z, and then a horizontal plane here. So all of that is makes sense in terms of logos. It shrinks almost like an hourglass so that it's like time is precious or time is running out. It also almost looks like a human form, a human made up of other humans. It could be talking more about like population control and the loss of population, the loss of human life, human value, etc. You can do a lot with that. So that all came from logos. So the first thing that we did was we just really looked at it. We described what was going on. We said, okay, there's this spire of bodies. There's a helicopter at the top that's being taken down by these bodies. There's some kind of bus here. There are words only at the top and the bottom, and the image is creating everything in between. Also, there are only 3 colors. That's important to highlight the death that's going on here, but also the unnaturalness of the world. So that would be the first thing you do after you have chosen your movie poster. Is just describe what's going on and then analyze it a little bit. Think about, in terms of ethos, pathos, logos, what's the most important thing that's going on here, and then assess. Assessment is it effective or not? So I already said the pathos was effective. I said the logos was effective because it makes sense to have kind of this clean line here in the alignment or the arrangement of the bodies. And also with ethos, it's clear what this movie is and who's the A-lister in it, essentially. Okay, so it's hitting all the marks for ethos, pathos, and logos. So we'll talk about thesis statements in the next video, and that would be assessment. Is it effective or not? Again, we're not saying it's good or bad, or we're not saying the movie was great or awful. We're saying, how are the rhetorical elements being used to convey a purpose to a target audience? All right. So in this one here, this is another movie poster, the same movie, obviously, and they're using similar elements. So they have the title here this time. The Z is still in red. There are a lot more colors, obviously. And if I looked at this in terms of purpose, audience, and conventions, which are the next three in your rhetorical elements list, then the purpose, again, would be to get you to come to see World War Z. It looks like a crap show, right? It looks like it's interesting, action. I'm expecting emotion, devastation of cities, etc. And hopefully it delivers with that. So what could it be commenting on? Well, we already talked about population. We talked about viruses a little bit. What do zombie narratives mean? What's the larger purpose here that they're saying? Rebuilding, etc. So what could you say about that in terms of purpose? And that's where your research will actually come in a little bit more, and that relates to context. Okay, so purpose, audience. So the audience, who do you think the audience would be for this? And again, it's the target audience. I think it would be obviously people of age, able to see it. People like families might come see this, not necessarily children, but like someone who wants a more PG-13 or R-rated action movie. People who are Brad Pitt fans, people who are fans of this genre, etc. We already talked about that. The conventions of the genre. People who've read the book. This is based off of the common read that was from last year. And also just people who like kind of blockbusters. This was a better film than most blockbusters today, but that might be the target audience. And how can we tell? Well, they're burning buildings. There's a family centered here right under the Z, so it's like under the power of the zombies or the force. All of these things you can comment on. Okay, so conventions. This is just a little bit more between the two posters. We're not going to read through this. We're actually going to go straight to conventions, which here are 3 different movie posters that are in the same genre. So these are all part of dystopian. World War Z is more post-apocalyptic and apocalyptic, but these have, they all belong kind of to the same family. Okay, they're all cousins, essentially. So we have the giver, the host, divergent. So the convention of this would be, what are the commonalities between these 3 things that are all of the same genre? So the thing that I noticed first is these kind of close-up shots. This one's a little further away. There's a city in the background. As you can see in all of these, there are male and female, and they're all fit young people. The girl is standing, and he is the protagonist of this film, so she's kind of behind him, but like the person who is the main people are in the middle. There are clouds in the background. There are 2 people up here, names, etc. All of the titles are down here. All of the dates are when it's coming out. So you can see that the convention of this are everything that we just listed. All right, that's how you can tell with the conventions. So in the next video, we're going to talk about thesis statements, and I'm going to talk about the last 3 things on the rhetorical analysis list, and then we'll get into really assessing and creating whether these are effective or not, creating arguments for that.